Welcome to Real Coaching Radio, the podcast for coaches by coaches. We are here to teach you how to get the most out of your clients and yourself. This is where beauty meets the beast, brains meet brawn, and science meets, well, bro science. Welcome to Real Coaching Radio. Welcome to this episode of Real Coaching Radio. My name's Charlie. Today, me and my co-host Mark, we talk all about training intent. What is the intent of the session? Why are you doing that exercise? And how hard should you be going when doing that exercise? We find like a lot of people go into the gym and they kind of coast along and they kind of go at this moderate level. There's no real change in intensity throughout the sessions or from session to session. So you do really need to understand training intent to get the most out of your sessions, and that's what we discussed today. But without any further ado, let's begin the episode.
Gets thrown around the fitness industry in the last couple of months. A lot of people are starting to talk more about it. And I guess the fact that people are starting to talk more about it is it's good, it's popular, but some people still might really not know what that means, not understand the benefit of it. And it probably is one of those things that's potentially missing from people's training, that's stopping them from getting some results, holding back the results. You know, you might have this perfect training program, but if the intent isn't there and you don't execute that program the way it should be executed, you're unlikely to see the results that you're looking for, I guess.
Right. So I guess for people then who are listening, training intent, how would you kind of summarize that? Would you summarize that?
The bin just fell over.
How did that happen?
I have heard that this room is haunted.
Do you know what? It genuinely wouldn't surprise me. This building is so old.
So, yeah.
How would you summarize training intent then for people? Like you just said, basically going into the session with like a desired outcome. Like there is an outcome for the session. There is a reason we put a session together in the certain way that it is. Like how would you describe it?
Yeah. So I guess, you know, every session that you do, there should be some intent behind that session. You know, why? What's the purpose of the session? And then within that, a layer deeper, like what's the purpose of the exercises? What's the purpose of why I'm doing this many sets, this many reps? You know, we can strip this down to the minute detail, to, you know, sets, reps, rest periods, that kind of stuff, as any good coach should, really. And you know, you can write all this down. You can have all this structured in a training program, and hopefully this gets explained to the client in terms of, right, the intent of this particular session is X, Y, and Z, but within that, the intent of these exercises are X, Y, and Z, and we'll get into what some of those details might be later on. And then that's, in order for the desired outcome to be achieved, that's got to be followed out. You know, it's got to be followed through, essentially. You know, you can't just go in and almost, you know, mill your way through a workout and hope that you're going to get some results ultimately.
Okay, so going into, I've started actually recently. This was something that I was kind of doing every now and again. Like we spoke before that we both get clients who, mostly online clients. I get like all of my clients to do it. Basically fill out check-in forms to check in, and kind of they can ask any questions and I can see how they're getting on. But if they'd set out, if they'd send in a check-in form, I would send them goals. What I've decided to do is start sending everyone goals. So I started setting every single client that I've got a goal. And the reason I do that is because pretty much the same thing is, like, I could look through someone's training program for like 2 weeks, and because I don't tell people what weights to lift, like that's ultimately down to them. Like we spoke around the auto-regulation, and I kind of try and get my clients to do that in some way. But I started setting goals to be like, you could probably put more weight on the bar here. Like we're going for a strength phase right now. The goal is to get stronger. You're not going to get stronger lifting the same weights. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you and I could do the same training program, an identical training program. We could do it, and let's say our consistency was really good, our adherence was really good. So which we know both of those things are a really key driver to you achieving results. But let's say you get really good results from this training program, and I don't. But the back squat, as an example, has been 5 sets of 5 for the last 4 weeks. Every week, you've increased your weight ever so slightly, and you've been hitting, I don't know, let's say somewhere between 85 to 87.5%, maybe 90% of what your 1 rep max is. So your loads have been quite heavy, and I've been going at it at kind of 60 to 65%, and wondering why you're getting stronger and I'm not getting stronger. But we're doing the same training program. I haven't missed any sessions, but the key difference there is the intent of the session. You're going at it harder than I am.
Yeah. And that thing of hard work when it comes to your sessions is something which I've pretty much kind of pulled my head out of the sand a little bit and decided that if any way you're going to get results, it's going to be working hard. And we spoke about it before, and you said you kind of fell into the trap of, should you be doing the things that your clients are doing with your nutrition? Should you be following the class programming? And obviously the answer to that is no. And I kind of fell into a similar thing, because when you get clients that come to you, you can get basically, there's a load of different types of clients, but you have 2 types. You have a type of client who you need to pull back a little bit because they're going to do way too much. And you have the type of client that you need to kind of like encourage along. And I've got a client, for example, that as soon as you push too far, that's it. They're pretty much out, and like they are literally pretty much session over there. Their head's gone. They don't want to be involved. So you have to be really quite sensitive with people, and you really have to like learn the ways to coach them. So I would always go in with the mindset of like, we're going to do the least amount of work to get the most amount of change, which is something that I still do with myself. But the problem is I wasn't progressing that with myself, because I was still having I kind of fell into this gray area of like, well, I'm going to just follow all the things. I'm going to follow all the rules. This is like what I should be programming for me to get these results. But because I wasn't actually doing what I should be, i.e. progressive overload, i.e. going into the session with a really kind of strong mindset that like, right, this week, this is what I'm going to do. I wouldn't going backwards, but I wasn't going forwards. And falling into that trap, something that I've done like recently. And like I said, the hard work thing, you have to, I guess, as a coach then, Mark, would you specify the intent of the session if it was in person or if it was online, or would you just say, right, the next phase, this is what we're doing? Like, how would you specify it to a client?
So a bit of both, really. Like, so I'd like to give some guidance on the phase, and just like, right, over the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever that might be, this is going to be our focus. And then let's say, as an example, let's take a training session as an example. Let's say we're going to hit a lower body dominant session. You're going to start with some back squats, and let's say we're going to do 5 sets of 5. So, right, this is our prime mover, if you like. This is our big key exercise. This is our driver. That's good. We're gonna track the progress here to see that we're getting stronger. So you're gonna go hard here, like working. You're doing 5 sets of 5. Each set is going to be close to what you can lift for 5. We then might move into, I don't know, let's say some Romanian deadlifts and some walking lunges. I say, right, these are more accessory based exercises where we're just looking to build a little bit of muscle tissue and strengthen up the joints that are being used when we squat. So we're working quadriceps, we're working hamstrings, we're working glutes. We're just looking to build some tissue there, gain some strength. So if you used to use an RPE scale, work at around 7 out of 10. Like, take the intensity down a little bit here. And then we're going to move into, like, let's say a bit of a finisher. So every, I don't know, an example might be, right, let's say every 3 minutes for 15 minutes, you're going to do a 20-second max effort assault bike sprint. So you're working for 20 seconds, but you start a set every 3 minutes. So now, and I find this is where people will misunderstand the intent, or their actions won't match the intent of the exercise, of what's required. So if you think, every 3 minutes you're doing a 20-second sprint, so you've got 2 minutes and 40 seconds recovery, you better be trying to break that machine for 20 seconds in order to get the results that we're looking for. Whereas if I said to somebody, right, you're going to go, there will be a lot of people who, let's take 2 different workouts. I said, right, take that same one. So every 3 minutes, you're going to do a 20-second sprint, or every minute on the minute for 12 minutes, you're going to do 30 seconds. Now that's obviously 30 seconds work, 30 seconds rest. But there will be loads of people in this world who, during both of those workouts, their speed will be identical. And then they're wondering why they're not getting results. Well, in one of them, you're only getting 30 seconds rest. So yeah, bring the intensity down. One of them, you're getting 2 minutes and 40 seconds rest. Try and break it. And that's where the difference is. One of them is very clearly anaerobic, or the intent should be very clearly anaerobic. And the other one is relatively aerobic. 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 12 minutes. You're going to struggle to be anaerobic for that amount of time with that little rest. You're going to be like top end aerobic work. So again, like in that training session that I've just described, at the start, we had our back squat, which was our main key driver, an exercise that we're using to track progress. So we're going to push hard on that. The middle bit is some accessory work. We're going to take the intensity down. And then at the end, you've got loads of recovery in this conditioning session. But the fact that you've got loads of recovery and your work time is short, you better be taking the intensity back up again. So there'll be focuses for the phase, but then within a session, it's just like, right, this is where you're putting your energy.
Yeah. And that's something you do see very commonly. So as coaches, then we should be really explaining what we want out of the clients at that point. This is what we've programmed for. The reason we've programmed this like 20 seconds on, kind of 2 minutes 40 off, is not so you get a nice long rest. It's so you need that rest. Like if you're going hard enough, if you're going where we want you to be, you will need probably a little bit longer than that rest.
Yeah, if you're going hard enough, you're going to wish you had more rest.
I remember when I did my PT course on the rower, and it was a similar thing. It was like 20 seconds. It was like, I think it was even like it was either a 15-second or a 20-second sprint on the rower, and it was like every 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think I got to round 3, and I had to go downstairs and like lie down, because I just like put my soul into the floor. And it's like, that's the kind of level, like if that's the intent, like that's where you should be looking for.
Yeah. And along those kind of lines, again, like what I see a lot the general public do is they have this perception that they're training hard, but all they're really doing is every single session that they do, they believe they're training hard, but they're really just averaging out and doing everything at a moderate pace, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to PB, and they're trying to do everything in their session to the max intensity. So again, let's go back to that training session that I spoke about. So we had the back squats, the walking lunges, and the Romanian deadlifts, which was the easier bit, and then we had this hard bit at the end. There should be components in your training session which are moderately easy, because you can't do a whole training session that is really hard. And if you do, you certainly can't come back the next day and do a whole training session that is really hard, and then the next day and do a whole training session that is really hard. All that's really happening is you might have gone balls to the wall on Monday. Tuesday, you're a little bit fatigued. You're going as hard as you can, but there's some fatigue in there, so actually your intensity has come down. By the time you get to Thursday, you're still going as hard as you can, but you've gone so hard at the start of the week that your intensity has actually come right down. It just feels really difficult because you're really tired. And then all that's really happening is you're probably going to end up getting worse. And you think you're training hard, but everything's just really moderate. Because whereas if you were to say, right, I've got 5 exercises to do on day 1, 2 of them are going to be really hard, 3 of them are easy. I've got 5 exercises on day 2, 2 of them are really hard, 3 of them are easy. So I know, because I've got these easier components, when I come back the next day, I've still got some energy to be like, right, I can actually go hard here now. So it's knowing when the intent is to go hard and to, if it's strength work, like push the numbers, or if it's fitness work, drive some anaerobic work, or when it's time to take your foot off the gas and be like, right, this is accessory based work. This is going to slow this down, focus on movement quality, or this is aerobic based work. I'm going to keep my heart rate down and develop some aerobic capacity.
Yeah. So that's something like, it's really, I guess, understanding what the intent of the session is really important. So I guess as coaches, if we do put aerobic workouts in or anaerobic workouts in, like, we probably should explain that, right? Do you, like, when you kind of, if someone out there is listening and go like, because like for me right now, I'm thinking, how could I do this in an online setting? Like, how could I get someone to understand what I mean in an online setting? Do you describe it?
Yeah, so I'll give them cues of just like, right, this is what we're trying to achieve from this. And again, I'll use words that my clients are going to understand. So, I'm not going to say somebody, because I might say to a client, oh, try and go anaerobic. And I've got a client who, as an example, like this isn't a real client, but let's say I've got a client who isn't working in the fitness industry, doesn't know the terms aerobic, anaerobic, and whatever it might mean. So I might just give them simple cues, which is like, right, yeah, you're going to go on this row machine for 30 seconds. Try and break it for 30 seconds. Like, so then they can start to understand, well, all right, I've got to work pretty hard here if I'm trying to break it.
Yeah. Because that's I think that's something that, like, while you're saying this, and like, I'm really thinking of, you could have, like, just because you have a session planned. So say for example, there's two clients side by side. You have Susie and Sally, right? And Susie's 24 years old and she's plays tennis on the weekends and she's like trying to get, like, become a better athlete. And then you have Sally, who's like in her 50s. She's got COPD, so she's got problems with her breathing. Like, you could give those two people the same session and it could have completely different intent. So, because like you saying about the 20 seconds off, 2 minutes 30 off, I'm already thinking about, I've got two clients who are doing the same, who are pretty much doing that, but it's for two completely different reasons.
Yeah. So, again, that just goes to show, like, a workout that's just on a piece of paper or on a computer screen or on your phone or whatever it is, doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of, you've got to go in and execute that workout how it needs to be executed. And that often is the biggest difference between you achieving results and not achieving results. People are always searching for this perfect training program, this training program that is like tailored specifically to them. Like, the reality is it doesn't exist. What needs to exist is a very well structured training program that absolutely takes into consideration your goals, so it's tailored towards you in that way. But then it's down to you. Like, you got to put in the work.
Yeah, it's really interesting just thinking about the amount of clients that I've had, and I see people getting results, and I see some people don't, and the people that don't, like, those are the ones that always need extra encouragement to kind of work a little bit harder.
Yeah. And
I have some clients who I have to put recovery weeks in because they go so hard for so long.
Yeah.
So it's the actual programming, we all have rules to follow, right? So like when we write programs, there is, well, this works, or this is the intent. This is the reason we are putting these exercises in this order and using this rep range, or doing 30 seconds on and 90 seconds off. Like, there's a reason we're doing that. And we follow those rules, but there, like Mark said, there's not something which is specific to you. Like, there's not like we can kind of look at your DNA and go, oh, this is the best session for your DNA. Like, if you've seen anything like that, then that's completely ridiculous. It makes me think about, I know it's a tangent, but have you seen the intermittent fasting apps? And it's basically like, they have a picture of a guy's body, right? And it's like, if you store belly fat in the front, you need to do the warrior intermittent fasting. And if you store body fat in your hips, you need to do the 16 and 8 intermittent fasting.
Shoot me now.
But that's the thing. Like, there isn't that specific thing that works for you. Like, science is science. Rules are rules. We can only follow kind of the direction that the science points. this is going to really annoy me, but I was listening to a podcast once, and the guy on it, and I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Pat Davidson. Basically said that, I don't think it was, but we're going to say it is. It was definitely that.
We'll give him the credit.
We'll give him the credit. If it's not, I'm sorry. But basically said that science, like imagine you're like open water fishing and you have a sonar which basically points you in the direction like this is where the fish is. And then you drive out on your boat and you throw your kind of line overboard and nothing bites. You don't get anything. Well, you're probably going to have to move to a different location to try and get to catch a fish. And it's the same with science. Like science points you in the right direction. It gets you to the right area. But then actually if something doesn't work for that person, then like we could change that. And that's where like the specific for you comes in, because it's not necessarily like, oh, your body's completely different. Like you're going to react different. It's a case of like, well, actually, like you're not that stable at your hips. So the reason I'm putting in a single leg deadlift rather than a hamstring curl was, yes, a hamstring curl would probably build more muscle, but actually we need to sort this out so we can get the most out of our main mover. Like the reason we do that is because specifically for that person, there's an imbalance that we need fixing so we can get the most out of it. Whereas like people just think, well, like I saw a guy doing like quarter reps, like went sat sideways on a hammer strength chest press. So like that's obviously the thing that I need to be doing. And it's like, one, you're just reducing the range of motion and like it literally is pointless. You may as well just turn your body and push with both hands. But you cannot keep looking for the like one specific thing, I guess. It's just all about that dialogue between you and your coach. Like if you don't understand, if you're a client, if you're just a person out there who has a program or has a coach, and they don't specify like what is the intent, you can always ask, like, what should I be trying to get out of this session? Like what should be the hard bit here? What is like the main focus? Why am I doing this? Like being interested, being inquisitive, probably going to get you like further than anything else, because then that person really has to come up with an answer. And it's a good way to check that they actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some clients that I do have. I don't do this for all my clients, but there are some clients where I will, I do this mostly for people who, depending on the type of job that they have, they are short on time and don't necessarily always manage to fit all of their sessions in, or manage to finish a session just because of their workload and their work structure. So in that scenario, I often I asterisk the days that are most important, and then within a session I asterisk the exercises that are most important. So if they miss days, or if they have to cut a session short, like they've got a priority list of, right, try and ensure that if you hit anything, hit these exercises. Or if you hit, out of 5 days, if you can only train 2, make sure you do these 2 days.
That's really good. That's a really good way of doing things.
So it's kind of like, yeah, you just, not that the rest is just like filling stuff, because it's not. It's important to be there, but the things that are going to get us the most results, these sessions that have an asterisk and these exercises that have an asterisk. And then again, like if you're short on time, you just, when you're in the gym, put your phone on airplane mode, put your headphones in, and just get the work done.
Yeah.
I think generally the missing link for people's achievements in their training is simply not training hard enough.
Yeah. And that's a real bitter pill to swallow. Like I find it's either one or two things. Like genuinely, you either have the people that try really hard but are doing everything wrong, like muscle confusion, or like not tracking anything, or doing strength one week and doing supersetting everything the next week. Like you have those type of people that feel that unless they sweat or unless they get a massive pump, that they haven't done anything. And then you get the people like you said who kind of will do everything and they'll follow a good program and they'll look for the help, but like they need that extra bit to kind of, right, come on now, we got to step it up a little bit.
Yeah. And I think even somebody on a suboptimal program, if they just went to the gym every time and just really trained hard, even if it was potentially slightly suboptimal for their goals, and there is potentially a better way to achieve their goals, I think they'd still achieve better results than the person who had the perfect training program, but trains like a bit of a lettuce.
So that genuinely, I have to put my hand up or look myself in the mirror and say, like, you're training like a bit of a lettuce. Because it's you think, I kind of, again, there's a time and a place, and you need to be a certain way along this journey to kind of respectfully look yourself in the face and say, right, I need to actually pull my finger out now. And normally that's around the stage where you're consistently going to the gym and you don't think about not going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get people who, like, half the battle that I get with clients is like, try not to miss a session this week. Do you know what I mean? And like, people need to start there. They need to get consistent first. But if you're consistent and you're just kind of going through the motions, is like, you often will fall into that trap. Like, that's why I think really understanding the intent of a training cycle, or the kind of the goals that you have alongside the session you've got planned, really important, because it gives you actually that driving factor and stops you from just milling along. And I'm doing a thing at the moment where, like, I'm trying to build as much muscle as possible. I'm trying to basically get as strong and as big as I can. So I have a goal now.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have that goal set, it goes like, okay, sweet. Like, I'm not just going through the motions. Like, I'm actually heading towards something.
Yeah. So I think obviously having a clear goal probably does help that. Because it just gives people direction, doesn't it? It just gives people probably a clearer headspace of what they're trying to achieve. So if you don't have a goal, maybe start by trying to figure out what it is that you're trying to achieve. And then, when you're training, ensure that you are training hard enough where you need to be training hard enough. And then when it's time to pull your foot off the gas, like, know that it's time to pull your foot off the gas and do it. Training isn't just about going hard all of the time. Training is finding this balance of knowing when to push hard, but when you do push hard, you are pushing hard. And then knowing when to kind of like pull back ever so slightly, really focus on movement quality, really focus on muscle activation, and, you know, knowing knowing the difference between those two things and knowing when to do those two things.
And if you're someone out there not sure of this, again, look at where you are in your journey and see kind of what type of person you are. So if you are someone who trains consistently, kind of 4 or 5 days a week, or and maybe only has the weekends off, like, is really good with their diet, like, it won't miss a session, won't miss anything on their program, then if you're not progressing, then you probably do need to work a little bit harder. If you are someone exactly the same position, but you are progressing loads and you're like, you'll go to the gym 6-7 days a week, like, you're probably the person that needs to pull their foot off the gas a little bit. And same if you're someone who, like, intermittently goes. Like, I don't want you to look at this and just think, well, next session I'm going to go in and go balls to the wall, because what will probably happen on that is you'll go in, you'll work really hard, you'll be really sore, and the next time your next session comes along, you go, I'm not feeling it today. Like, I was killing after the last workout. And I'm always like, I say to my clients, like, I'm always trying to find this gap when I first start training people of, like, it's hard. You can feel it afterwards. You feel some achievement out of the session. Like, you feel like you've won something out of the session, but you're not struggling to walk downstairs. You're not kind of sore to touch the next day. I'm always trying to find that, like, I guess, like, that optimal kind of optimal recoverable volume, I guess, is what I'm trying to aim for. Like, I'm trying to get you to a position where you walk out of that session feeling stronger, feeling good, feeling like you've achieved something more than last week, but you're ready for the next session. So, which is why, like, you really have to juggle between working hard when your session comes and over pushing. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no point in having someone program for you. I saw a strongman coach rant about this the other day, which I thought was amazing, and was basically saying, like, if you have written on your program 6 sets of 2 on a deadlift at 85%, why the fuck are you doing 95%? And it's just because, like, and he's like, you have a program for a reason. There's a reason you're paying someone to go and write you this program. And the reason is because you've accepted that this person has more knowledge than you, so will help you along with your journey. So if you've already accepted that, not only have you probably paid something financially, so you've already took a financial hit paying this person, but you've actually started to put your trust into someone and trust that they're going to put you in the right direction. So why the hell would you turn around and go, well, you know what, I'm just going to do more than they've said because I'm feeling good today? Like, you really, or like, I didn't do that exercise because like, oh, I wasn't feeling it today, so I've decided to go home. Like, try your best to follow the plan that's in front of you because it's there for a reason.
Yeah, I think going back to like that 85-95% thing, I see a lot of people that kind of do that. They just sort of they look at, so take that as an example, like 6 sets of 2 at 85%. It's going to be hard, but that's not going to be, awful.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, it's not going to take your soul at 85% for 2 reps. But then there'll be some people who just like, oh, that's quite easy, so I'll just put some more weight on it. And again, it's just, yeah, as Charlie said, like, you've been programmed that for a reason by somebody who has probably more knowledge than you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone to that person for programming. And the ability to help you achieve your goals. So, that has been programmed for a reason. So stick to the program. But again, it's that kind of, for all later on in the week, there could have been a session that is supposed to be really difficult. But because you went too hard a few days before, you get to that session later on in the week, you're tired, and you can't hit the numbers you're supposed to be hitting. So you're just, again, messing around with the fatigue, not adhering to the intent of the session and the exercise. And like I said, like, it's often a missing link between, we can talk about periodization, specificity, all this other stuff. The 3 big things that people lack when it comes to achieving results is adherence, consistency, and matching the intent. If you do those 3 things, and your program is a well-structured training program, you are very likely to get the results that you're looking for.
Sweet. I think it is massive. It's the I guess that's the, what would you say then the biggest take home? Like, give someone a take home for, if you're a coach, what take home would they get from this?
I think if you're a coach, like, ensure that first of all you've given the session some thought that you're giving to your client. You're not just making sessions up. There's actually some thought around, well, which bit is supposed to be hard? Why is it supposed to be hard? Which bit of my client supposed to be taking it slightly easier? Why are they doing that? And then obviously relay that back to the client to make sure that you are putting that structure into the sessions. And then from a client's point of view, take that information and to the best of your ability, try and match your actions. So try and match the intent of the exercise. If you're supposed to be anaerobic, get anaerobic, like, make it hurt. If it's supposed to be heavy, make it heavy, obviously within your limits of safety.
Sweet. Wicked. Thank you so much. Have you got anything else?
No, I think that's it really. Like, when you're supposed to train hard.
Train hard. And then when you're supposed to recover, fucking recover really hard.
Yeah.
Learn how to coast.
Yeah.
I just before we finish, like, today I've got a compound lift session, so I'm basically back squat over a press, bench press, bent over row. There's a lot of big movers, and tomorrow I have arms, and then Wednesday I basically do deadlifts. But if I decided to do deadlifts tomorrow, like, it would be completely pointless because the reason I put arms in is because it's not that hard of a session. Like, it's going to be pretty easy to recover from, which means when I go into deadlifts, like, I'll be recovered from the session today. So if you are and you have programs as well, the one thing I'd say is just don't switch kind of days around for the sake of it. Like, try your best to stick to the way it's been planned out, because, like, chances are that it's been taken into consideration that if you train this first session with the correct intent, then if you train that third session kind of tomorrow, well, you're probably going to be, like, like Mark said, falling short on that session, and you're not going to be able to get the most out of it. So like really start to understand why things are put together. But I think that is everything.
Go hard or go home.
Go hard or go home. No pain, no gain. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Real Coaching Radio. Thank you once again for tuning in to Real Coaching Radio. My name is Charlie. We do want to say that if you can, share this with your friends, share this with your family, share this with anyone who is maybe a coach themselves, or share this with someone who basically enjoys fitness, likes training, likes doing all of these things that we kind of talk about in this program. But yeah, we do want you to just share this where you can. And thank you so much for the support, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you do know anyone who wants to become a personal trainer, then please kind of head to www.myptcourse.com. There are level 2, level 3 and level 4 courses that will get you started on your fitness career. If you want to get in contact with us, if you want to ask any questions, if you want to come on the podcast, that's something me and Mark are going to try and do. We're going to start to try and get some guests on here. At the moment, we are spending a lot of time pretty much. We're just really busy. Gyms have reopened, so personal training's gone back up. Online coaching's kind of become ridiculous. Everything's just really busy at the moment. So trying to fit one of these sessions, one of these podcasts in each week is a difficult task in its own. But hopefully we'll get to the point soon where we can have some guests on and we will start to discuss other things like alongside training and health. I mean, one of the things that I've always felt strongly about is mental health. The kind of the crossover between the two worlds of physical and mental health. So that is definitely something we are going to start exploring mindset, start exploring how you can improve your mindset, how training can improve your mental health, and loads of other things as well. But once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on the next one.